The Bryan Kohberger complaint letters. That's what we are digging into today. Welcome, everyone. We knew it would happen. I didn't think we'd expect it, I don't know, quite this fast or quite this detached from reality of where he is and what he's experiencing. And I guess the level of discomfort, the bar is pretty low for Kohberger. He goes from complaining about people saying that, well, the only we're going to be eating is Kohbergers, to complaining that he's not getting a full balanced meal in prison because when items are not available, he's not getting a replacement item, and he'd like that to be addressed. We're going to go through all of these letters, but let's begin with the first one. It goes back to July 30th, 2025, just one day after being moved to Idaho's Maximum Security Institution. Bryan Kohberger put pen to paper and filed his very first prison grievance. He'd barely spent 24 hours on J Block before deciding he'd have enough. Oh, poor Bryan. It's not working out so well so far now, is it? So let's take a look at the initial letter. And this is, if you're watching us on YouTube, this is the letter. There's two more we're going to go through after this. This is the letter with the response. So this is the resident concern form. And I'm going to read this out to you in full. Number one, I want to say just look at this guy's handwriting. If you're a handwriting analyzer or have any experience in it or just know a little bit, this guy is a study in that handwriting. This looks, I do not have good handwriting, I'll tell you that much. This is like weird second grade level stuff. It's bizarre. And the signature, that's like third grade where they say, okay, let's learn how to do a signature. Like he stuck with it. It was like first draft. Okay, I guess I got a signature now. It's so weird. It's like, it's questionable. You can tell there's like hesitation in the signature. Like, is this how I write my signature? Anyway, here's the letter. As I continue the SPI phase, I wish to discuss if I may be transferred to another ad-seg setting, such as B block, not engaging in any of the recent flooding striking, as well as being subject to minute-by-minute verbal threats, harassment, and on that and other bases. Unit 2 of J Block is an environment that I wish to transfer from. I request transfer to B Block immediately. I wish to speak with you soon. That's what it's all about. So let me give you a little context here. The flooding, the other blocks, because this is a solitary confinement unit, the other blocks that are around him, they're flooding them. The inmates are flooding them so that the water drips through and then goes into his cell. He's none too happy about that. So there was a response. I should note that before we go into the next letter. Let's take a look at that real quick. The response to this. I'm gonna bring it up here so you guys can see it a little bit better. Mr. Kohberger, on any tier at MSI, there are sometimes disruptions to operations, such as residents flooding on J2. It is a relatively rare occurrence, and J2 is generally a fairly calm and quieter tier. I do not think that B block would be any better for you. Give it some time. And then the captain signed it on August 1st. So let's just talk about that whole thing for a moment, and I'd love to get your thoughts in the comments section. And like I said, we got two more letters to go through, so stick around. It gets better. It gets better. So this letter here, no emotion, no flourish, just a dry bureaucratic note written by a man who studied the psychology of crime for years and once imagined himself as an academic insider on the subject. Now he's inside the system for real. And the words he chose are almost comical in their formality. As I continue the SPI phase, another ad seg setting. On that and other bases, he wrote, as if prison officials were going to read this like a research paper and nod in agreement. Oh yes, look how he said that. I agree that, they're not complying. Well, obviously, they didn't read it that way. Officials reviewed his complaint and denied the request. They told him the flooding in J Block was relatively rare and T2 was generally calmer than other housing areas, and that moving him to B Block wouldn't make his situation any better. Their advice was simple: give it some time. He isn't going anywhere. I'd say, hey, let's let him start doing what he wants. Like, if he thinks it's going to be better over in B Block and it's going to be worse, move him to B Block. If he thinks general population at some point after B Block sucks is a better idea, move him to general population. Just let him keep thinking he's in control until he's killed. I think that would be the quickest way. He's so dumb when it comes to his own self-preservation that he will walk himself off the cliff. That's the funny thing with people like this. You think you have to, you got to take them out. You got to do this. They will take themselves out. You got to stop them from hurting other people. Yes, definitely. But if you let them, if you know their jig, and this is usually for more, non-murderous types, the non-murdering narcissist, if you just let them flail in the wind, if you let them sit on the shore like a fish out of water, and they need you as water to thrive on their madness, if you're not giving them water, they can only flail around for so long. 5 days later, Kohberger tried again. This time he claimed what he called sexual harassment. He handed another note to the guard saying inmates were threatening him with crude remarks. One allegedly shouted, "I'll BF you." I'm thinking this might be the more conservative shouts that he received. Another, he wrote, said, "The only ass we'll be eating is Kohberger's," in the sterile language of the prison system. That's what's logged as evidence of mistreatment. Here's the full letter. This was obtained by our friends over at News Nation. I'll read it for you here. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see it better over on that screen. On August 3rd, 2025, this is the brief summary that was given. So basically, Kohberger reiterated this to a guard, and then this is how the complaint was lodged. On August 3rd, 2025, resident Kohberger, IDOC 163214, submitted a concern from stating he, quote, has been subject to threats and harassment, recently escalating to overt sexual violent threats and statements. Lieutenant Mandhelt received the concern form on August 4th of 2025 and conducted an interview with Kohberger in J Block. Kohberger stated a resident that goes by Peru told him, quote, "I'll BF you." If you're questioning what any of that means, B meaning the piece behind you where poo comes out, and F meaning the F word, okay? So now that we put that all together, Kohberger also stated an unknown resident from Tier 1 of the J Block said, "The only ass we'll be eating is Kohberger's." This is what stood out to Kohberger. Now keep in mind, he's being taunted 24 hours a day in this thing. Those are the ones that stuck with him most. I can imagine there was hundreds of others, but these are the two that really Kohberger wanted to make sure made it to the document complaint. He's very concerned about the ass eating. He's very concerned. Like this shit. Like, do I need to get some ranch or something to make this work, or what the? Kohberger stated that Officer Signora was present for the comment made by Peru. Due to Officer Signora being on B nights, an interview could not be conducted to attempt to corroborate the allegation. On August 7th, it continues. Officer Signora submitted an information report outlining his involvement of the alleged incident. Officer Signora recalls vulgar language being used and directed towards Kohberger, but could not identify who said what. The allegation is substantiated, but due to no aggressor being able to be positively identified, and Kohberger saying he feels safe to remain in Tier 2 and J Block, no further actions were taken. The delay in the 105 submission date and the report date is due to collecting all the information to ensure proper action could be taken as needed. End of report. I don't know what Kohberger thought prison was going to be like, but his bar is pretty low, as is continued here. So there's another letter, but let's just talk about this one for a brief moment, shall we? And let me know your thoughts in the comments section on YouTube. The guard who received the note later admitted that they recalled vulgar language, of course, being thrown around. And once again, the prison's conclusion was the same. Kohberger feels safe. Transfer denied. It's where the reality of prison life collides with entitlement of someone like Kohberger. The same man who spent months circling victims' houses, plotting, prepping, allegedly leaving his DNA behind on a knife sheath. Not allegedly, he did. Stabbing 4 young people in their beds. That man now insists that living conditions are unacceptable. He's annoyed by the threats. He's bothered by the noise. He wants to be somewhere quieter. And that's the cruel symmetry here. Kohberger spent years studying how killers think and how crime unfolds, but he seemed to have no understanding of what life after conviction really looks like. J-Block is not an academic exercise. It's a maximum security tier in Idaho's harshest prison. It houses men on death row and the state's most violent offenders and lifers who have long since stopped caring about the feelings of a new arrival, which Kohberger is. In restrictive housing, which is where Kohberger is kept, every detail of life is controlled. He's in a single prison cell. He's restricted whenever he's moved. He gets 1 hour of outdoor recreation per day. And if you ask me, he's pretty lucky right now. Because it's harvesting season on Bryan Kohberger's you know what. And the prisoners are just waiting to get out to the field and make their harvest on Bryan Kohberger's. Yeah. If you're watching me, I'm holding up a harvest mug because I got some of my fall stuff out. And I was drinking this earlier when I was putting the story together going, how can I tie this in to this story today? He's allowed to shower every other day. That's it. Compared to the county jail where he was previously spending long stretches in solitary, but enjoyed the luxury of long showers and light supervision. IMSI is an entirely different world. It's designed to break down resistance, and it's doing its job. What's striking is the way inmates have adapted their own methods of torment. And I got to say, the ingenuity, guys, very good. If we could harness the ingenuity of our prison system, of the people who are in there, the people who could use their minds, their ingenuity for something good while serving the time for something bad that they did, it could be a great resource. It can also be a great punishment for Bryan Kohberger that is going to be far worse than the death penalty. Reports say they've been taunting him through the ventilation system. You can picture it, disembodied voices drafting and drifting through metal ducts into his cell at all hours, mocking him, threatening him, erasing the little scraps of peace solitary is supposed to provide. Guards confirm that, yes, vulgar language is being directed at him, but as long as it doesn't turn into physical assault, which it physically can't at this moment in time, it isn't enough to warrant a move. The prison's job isn't to make Bryan Kohberger comfortable. It's to keep him alive, contained, and serving his sentence. That's a kind of bitter irony to all of this. The families of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xander Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, the 4 University of Idaho students Kohberger murdered in November 22, don't get the luxury of filing a complaint when their grief becomes unbearable. They don't get to ask the system to relocate their pain to a quieter block. Their loss is permanent. Their boundaries have already been shattered. They're dead because of Kohberger, the man who's complaining that people are being loud and rude and flooding his cell and threatening to eat his ass. I hope Steve Gonzalez is getting a good laugh out of that one. I really, really do. But wait, there's more. There's more. This is another prime example of just how disconnected Bryan Kohberger is from the reality of what is going on around him. He's complaining about lunch. He's complaining about dinner. He's complaining about things that, sorry, that's how prison works. Here's his other complaint letter for us to go through. Again, look at the handwriting. It's and it's the same signature too. It's the same weird, I did this in second grade signature and I stuck with it. This one, this complaint letter reads, I have on several occasions not received all items on food on my tray. All items of food on my tray. I addressed this during service and have yet to receive any replacements. In fact, the kitchen is not even called. The policy book confirms items missing, which are pointed out at the time of service, will be replaced. I wish to, I'm trying to read this because his handwriting is horrible. I wish toy without exception, or I wish to, I think receive or something, without exception, receive these replacements. Okay, the Y it's a comma. It looks like a Y. I wish to, without exception, receive these replacements. Then I have tried to solve the problem informally by, and this is where they fill it out, addressing the issue with staff at the time of meal service. And then this is part of the form. I suggest the following solution to the problem. And this is him. I wish for the items to be called for and items replaced when this occurs. The nutritional standard is not being upheld unless I receive my full tray. And then you got Brian's little, his, weird cryptic signature there. Oh, Bryan. Oh, Bryan, keep complaining. You keep giving us lovely content. And this lovely content is continuing to be, your complaints are not quietly going, obviously, to management there at the prison system. They're coming out to everyone, and then they're going back to the prisoners. The ones you're naming by name. Oh, this is going to work out great. This is going to work out great. Yeah. They're hungry, Bryan, and it's harvest season. It is kind of shocking that this monster thinks that he's entitled to some sort of treatment. You can't wrap your mind around it. I think at the end of the day, that's the problem. You can't wrap your mind about what he did, and you can't wrap your mind about what he's thinking with sending these things, because his brain does not work like a normal person. So that's the latest on Bryan. That's his 3 letters. I'm sure we're going to be seeing many more in the months and years to come. This will be interesting. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube. If you're not there already, search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi wherever you're downloading podcasts so you don't miss any of our coverage here on, obviously, this case and the many that we cover for you at True Crime Today and the Hidden Killers podcast. I'm Tony Bruschi. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.